It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
Today's going to be super interesting. It's nothing like having a fellow podcaster and somebody who is really well immersed into real estate here in the chair. David Wallach is here to give his insight as to why Calgary is such an amazing city and what he does. But first, our land acknowledgement.
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Ga'aina, Piikani, the Tsutena, the Eahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta.
Alrighty, Dave, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited because not often I get to sit down with an expert, but also like an expert podcaster, because you're also on Calgary Next on 770. If you guys are not aware of that show, do go check it out. It's through our economic development. But also, like, I'm looking, we both moved to Calgary in 1999.
Well, we moved December 28, 1998.
1990, that's...
It was 25 degrees in Tel Aviv and minus 18 when we landed. So that was our welcoming committee.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would have done it. And you stayed. So that's...
Yeah, we stayed.
A glutton for punishment, eh?
Yeah, and we love it here.
So let's talk a little bit. I want to get a little bit of a pre-frame as to who you are and what brings you here.
As you said, my name is David Wallach. I was born and raised in Israel. I lived there for almost 40 years of my life. My wife and I decided to immigrate in 97. I came here for 10 days. I did some research. And I remember I called my wife from the payphone on 39 and McLeod. There's a 7-Eleven there, and there was a payphone on the side. I called her. I said, honey, this is where we want to move to. It's a big city, but they still act like villagers. They don't realize they're a big city, and that's where the opportunity lies. So we moved here with 3 kids, and now 25 years plus later, we're still here and enjoying every minute.
Amazing. And you're absolutely right. I think even in today's, because since you moved here, we were 700 and some odd thousand people, and now we're double that.
Yeah, I think when we moved, we were about 800 and something. And then I remember the 1 million person, I think the mayor, I can't remember if it was Bronconia or or Aldur, that greeted the 1 million residents of Calgary. I remember that. And then now we're 1/4 and growing into, bigger numbers.
Bigger numbers. And we have a lot of amazing things going on here. Let's break down a little bit. So your professional side let's talk about Barclay and Triumph and what you do there and how that is playing into kind of where Calgary is evolving and showing up as world leaders. So first, give us a little bit of background on Barclay and Triumph.
So Barclay Street Real Estate, those that are the veterans here and were here before 99, that is the successor of Torod Realty. So in 2001, we bought from John Torod the company, and in 2004, we rebranded as Barclay Street Real Estate. So we are, commercial real estate brokers and property management company. We do all market segments of of brokerage, whether it's retail, office, industrial leasing, and investment sales. And we also do property management. We manage now over 5.2 million square feet in Calgary. There's a room for a privately owned company like ours competing with some of the bigger whales and some of the smaller fish in a city that, as we discussed earlier, is between 1.4 to 1.5 million. So that's Barclay Street Real Estate. We have about 48 employees. about 18 or 19 are brokers, and all the rest are property managers, admin, property operators, and the whole 9 yards that you need to kind of manage properties and manage a brokerage. Triumph Real Estate Fund is a private REIT that we launched in 2014. We raise money from the public, not through the exchange, but through what's called the exempt market. And we buy properties both sides of the border. In the U.S., we have properties in the Phoenix area, the Denver area. In Canada, we have in Calgary, Edmonton. We used to have in Ottawa. We sold it, and so that's what Triumph Real Estate is all about. It's a private REIT basically, and we're enjoying both of them.
All right, so let's break it down for our listeners, because I know what a REIT is, you know what a REIT is, but there's a lot of talk right now around real estate. And we've seen here in Calgary, the price of home ownership basically double in the last, 6 years or so. And a lot of people are going, oh, there isn't opportunity in real estate. And yet we see things like fractional ownership and REITs coming up as opportunity. Can you share with us a little bit of the value is in a REIT?
Well, as you mentioned, the cost of buying properties is getting higher and higher. And when you talk about commercial real estate, it's bigger numbers. It's not buying a house or a condo. We're talking in the millions. So a lot of people don't have that opportunity. What the REIT gives you is an opportunity to be part of a bigger company, and you can use it for your tax advantage. That's why it's a REIT. And you can become a part owner of commercial real estate or residential. There are some residential REITs as well that will buy multifamily. We focus on, we diversify between buying retail, industrial, and office buildings. When I talk about office, we're not doing downtown, we're just doing suburban office, suburban, the retail plazas that are the neighborhood plazas, and of course industrial. So it gives people opportunity to be part owners, and the pride of ownership is a big thing in real estate. And that's what we are doing. We give people that opportunity to become part of a bigger group of people that invest in commercial real estate.
And although right now we know that commercial real estate is having some challenges. You had mentioned in one of your podcasts, and again, folks, that's Calgary Next. Make sure you check that out. You had mentioned Black Swan. So walk us through the terminology of Black Swan, because you had mentioned 1, 2, but I think there's actually a third Black Swan that's sitting there right now. So tell us what Black Swan is.
So Black Swan is something that attacks you that you didn't prepare for and you have to deal with, whether it was COVID, whether it was the inflation, whether it was the interest rates. Nobody, when people prepared the 2020 business plan at the end of 2019, nobody wrote, okay, COVID, we're going to have a lockdown. That's a Black Swan. It surprised you, and you have to deal with this. Same as nobody in 2022, because 2021 was a great year for everybody. Economy was booming. Everybody was spending money. Everybody was buying, selling. Nobody planned in 2022. Inflation is going to 8%, and interest rate is going to 5%. So those are the Black Swans that you have to deal with. And the good thing or the bad thing about the Black Swan, you don't know when it's going to attack you, and you don't know what it is. So my whole philosophy is control what you can control and deal with it. In terms of, you said that there's challenges, there are always challenges, but the good thing about real estate, like every other thing in life, is always a buyer, always a seller. You don't know the motivation, but you have to deal with what you have. And, and when I look back at 2004 and 5 and 6 and 7, we did deals there at that time, and interest rates were very similar to where they're at today. So there's a whole generation that joined us between 2000, my kids, for example, between 2009 and 2022 that didn't think that interest rate could go to 4 or 5%. Well, that's reality. We all knew it's not sustainable to have interest rate at 2% or 2.5%. But the whole generation got used to it and enjoyed it. So welcome to reality.
It's quite a wake up call for a lot of people. The interest rates, but I totally agree. First house we purchased in Toronto, our interest rate was 7.25%, and we felt like we got a deal.
Yeah, because it was 22 in the 80s.
Yep. So,
Is the word perspective?
yes, exactly. Well, and it's interesting because I think that there's a lot of things that go into kind of that generational mindset because, the access to information is immediate. The access to entertainment is immediate. The food is delivered to the front doorstep. Like, so to have that kind of, that shift, that overnight ripping off of the Band-Aid, it's like, it's been pretty radical for a lot of the young people. But you know what? They'll look back and they'll go, oh, I remember when.
Survive.
Yeah,
I
survived.
survived.
So one of the things that I find interesting, I want to talk third black swan is and it's crazy because Calgary somehow got ahead of this. So we're seeing globally. So we're seeing in Milwaukee and Boston and Chicago. We're seeing the commercial buildings are sitting vacant because COVID and then the interest rates. And now they're predicting a large portion of these will not be renewing in 2027. So there's all this talk around that. But Calgary got ahead of all this. Calgary is kind of like the global leader of adaptive use. So what are some of the things that you're seeing when we talk about adaptive use and rethinking some of the commercial space that right now cannot be absorbed back, but in future could be?
What we see in Calgary, I think the first step we took as a city is to convert some of the obsolete office buildings into residential. I think it's a double win. What I mean by this is, first of all, we are reducing the amount of vacant office, but more important for me is that we get more people to live downtown. A vibrant downtown is the whole difference about how you feel in a city. Even if you live in suburbia, a vibrant downtown gives a different vibe to the city, a different atmosphere to the city. We have to have more people stay after hours, go to the restaurants, go to the pubs, go to the theater, go to Arts Commons, wherever there is an activity. So I think that is one thing. The other thing we see here, and that has to do with Alberta, not just with Calgary, is we are very an entrepreneur kind of province and city. So I think we had more companies call back their people to the office in Calgary than almost every other city in North America. Part of it is because we have a lot of small and mid-sized businesses that are locally owned, like mine, right? And my office was never closed during COVID as well. We were always open. We took all the necessary protection to protect our people, but we see more and more people. Our parking lot is full every day. You have a sign when you come after 10:30. It says "lot full." So we see a lot of people coming back to the office in Calgary. And we hope it will continue, in other locations as well. Did we overbuild a little bit office? Probably, because the old days, the oil and gas guys, they couldn't care less how many people they hire. So if oil was 80 or higher, okay, let's hire another 100 engineers. Today, they can do the same work with less people because IT has moved the needle on the work. So we need less people to do that work. And that's kind of something we have to deal with, is diversifying downtown, diversifying our economy, so we won't be a one-horse economy. I would like to see Mount Royal University open a faculty downtown. I would like to see Ambrose open a faculty downtown. If you look at, the cool places, San Francisco, Los Angeles, they have their problems right now, but if they look at their downtown, they all have young kids who go there,
yes.
Students. Students create, I would say, fashion. I'll give you an example. None of us in our age knew what Facebook is. It started with university. Now, our kids are not on Facebook, but we are.
Yep.
They are in other places. So they created that. They create a lot of positive momentum by the way they dress, by the way they act, by the way they spend money. I would like to see more universities come to downtown Calgary. I think that would be a great addition to our downtown, plus the residents that we'll get. So I think in the long term, we're in the right direction. The arrow is positive. We just released, Barker Street released our downtown report. And head lease, we're only at just shy of 21% vacancy. So that's a good sign.
That's amazing. Because
that's a good sign.
Very. Back in 2018, our vacancy rate was getting, I cannot recall, but I know it was well over the 30% mark.
It was between 31 to 33, but we kind of separate now between head lease and sublease. So there is sublease still at 5%, but sublease can be for 6 months or 2 years or 3 years. So we all kind of congregate into one word is sublease. Head lease, meaning there's no lease on the space right now. It's available. It's less than 21%. So, as I said, the arrow is in the right direction for Calgary.
I agree with you that we're finally moving beyond that one horse town.
Not yet. We're on the right direction,
we're on the right
but
direction.
not yet.
We have a lot of technology coming. We have a lot of diversity. I know that we have our new convention center that's going to be bringing in tens of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just we spoke to Mark Garner from the Calgary Downtown Association, and just some of the stuff. We are literally, I think, on the cusp of truly being a competitive world-class city, and not dependent on a Winter Olympic, but on a everyday. What are some of the things that you see? Because we've been here the same amount of time, and it's fascinating because we both have been in that real estate space. I was on the residential, you're on the commercial side. What are some of the things that you're seeing that you hope that it continues to move forward to play out for your children and your grandchildren?
Well, I'll give you an example. When I was here in 97 for 10 days to check the city, I was very hungry at 9:30 p.m. And I was going from one place to another, and everything was closed. I had to go to a 7-Eleven, buy a sandwich that was probably prepared the day before, put it in a microwave, and that was my dinner. Today, thank God we have such a nice culinary kind of environment. I want to see more culture. I want to see more art. I want to see more restaurants. And I think we're in the right direction. Part of it is the city has diversified. We see now immigrants. Calgary became a destination for immigration. When we moved here, people say, why are you moving to Calgary? I'll tell you a story. When we were interviewed at the embassy in Tel Aviv, the guys were trying to convince us to go to Ottawa and not to come to Calgary. And I said, no, we're going to Calgary. And he gave us, so the interview was supposed to ask us questions and to see our level of English. And it was 15 minutes. We said hi. And then for 14 minutes, he tried to convince us to go to Ottawa. And then he approved us. So that was perfect. But the city has changed dramatically in terms of you see so many ethnicity, people that from kind of diverse ethnicities, and you see people that are different mindset and want to see more art, more fun, more entertainment, more and more of the balanced way of life. And that's, for me, that's the biggest, I would say, advantage Calgary has today. And I think if I look back at my career, started as you mentioned, as a broker in commercial real estate, the one thing that Calgary represents to me is there's no boys club. What I mean by this is when I came with my broken English and my weird accent, and people looked at the deal I brought them and didn't look at me. So if it was the right deal, they made a deal with me. And I won't mention names, but some of the names that are here from many, many years, true Calgarians, old and new, that are in different walks of life, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's other, they all looked at the deal I brought them. And they couldn't care less that I'm a little bit different, that my accent is not the best, my English is not the best. It was, and that for me, that represents Calgary. The opportunity here is second to none because of the entrepreneurship mindset we have as a city.
I couldn't agree more. Like, being from a trailer park in Kansas and moving here to Calgary, the opportunity, I mean, moving into Mackenzie Town and becoming part of that community, I never thought of doing real estate and really growing that into, you know, a 7-figure business for my family and I. And it's because it is a very welcoming city. Even though it's a big city, it's still a welcoming city. I want to go back to you. We were talking about that live, work, play. Get more young people in the downtown. Calgary has, is it 13 or 17 buildings now? I'll have to look that up, folks, that are being converted. So these are like older commercial buildings that are being converted. And I know we have like People's First with Maxim is doing an amazing job. But getting people back downtown into the live, work, play. I think most Calgarians aren't aware of what we have. We have a crisis, global crisis right now around housing.
Yeah.
And
a growing crisis in Canada.
It's a growing crisis in Canada. They say in North America alone, we would have to build the city the size of Winnipeg or Nashville, because they're the same size, every month for the next 11 years in order to accommodate every person looking for housing. So where do you see some of the things that, where do you see that going in alignment with what's going on in the commercial space? What are some opportunities?
I think before we talk opportunity, we have to talk about the red tape and how the government policies sometimes, prevent us from going forward. And I know you mentioned no politics before we started, but it has to do with it because, Canada became. I can tell you from Israel. I just came back from Israel. I was there in October. So Canada became a huge destination for immigration. So I'm not just talking about migration within Canada, between provinces. I'm talking about people from the outside. Look at Canada. And I remember sitting in a restaurant in Santa Barbara and having lunch with my wife. And the busboy, as you can imagine, was a Mexican guy that was illegal in the U.S. And he asked us, "Where are you from?" And we said, "Canada." And he said, "Oh, Canada, that's a true democracy. I want to live there." So I think that message today is so strong all over the world. So the fact we want to bring more and more immigrants, I think, is great because to economy, because they need homes, they need work, they need to spend money. That's great. But we have to have a policy also from every level of government, municipal, provincial, and federal, helping the developers get a faster track to put the shovel in the ground.
Yes.
And, it may be that we'll make some mistakes along the way, but if we don't do anything, it will be worse than doing some mistakes along the way. I'm sure that we won't make a lot of mistakes. I'm sure that we'll try to learn from every mistake we make, but we have to have this whole process go faster and help those developers. And everybody will say, well, they're making money. Yes, they're in for business. But we have to help them control costs. We have to have them to get to the shovel situation faster than what we have right now. From what I understand, we are about 3 million homes short in Canada as a country, and that won't be built overnight.
No.
So it's everybody has to. It's a team effort.
Absolutely. We've got, so there's adaptive use, there's manufactured, there's
Every
rezoning.
solution.
Everything has to come to the table. I 110% agree with you. What are some of the things that you think that we could do on a local level to start kind of getting these things? 'Cause I see a lot of lots, a lot of places all over Calgary, honestly, that I'm sitting there going, this space could house how many people, right? And so what can we do? What do you think is a good option for people, just average everyday people going, wait, we got to create more housing. We got to get things done here.
Well, I'm not big on the residential side, so just from many years ago in the early 90s when the Iron Curtain fell in Russia, there's huge immigration from Jewish people from Russia to Israel, and we had the same crisis. There were no homes, everything was going through, the prices were skyrocketing, and the Ministry of Housing said, okay, we have to go back to how we started the country, meaning they got trailers and trailers and trailers, and every family got a trailer. Now those trailers are gone. Where 30 years later, trailers are gone. It took 10 to 15 years, but everyone now has a house, everyone has an apartment or a condo. Sometimes you have to go and do a radical solution for a period of time, but when you go in, you have to know what the end solution is and how you go out. So if someone comes now to Calgary and you give them a trailer and you tell them, but in 3 years you'll have a house and this is the plan, they will accept it. Because right now I hear horror stories about residential. I was meeting a residential realtor a few days ago, and he told me about a building in South Calgary or Killarney or that area, 50 offers. Mm-hmm. Another property in Cedar Brae sold over 100,000 above asking because of competition. So we, instead of marking ourselves out of affordability, we have to give a radical solution. And radical solution is something that politicians don't like.
No.
But sometimes
and
that's the only solution.
And old neighbors also. So we're down in the Cedar Brae Pump Hill kind of area, and off of Southland is that commercial space. They have I believe it's a co-op in there, and then they built a commercial, and everybody's all up in arms because there is a proposed multi-family, and they're going, well, where are they going to park? Where are they going to drive? And all this other stuff. And it's like, and folks, I'm 54. Everybody knows this. I tell everybody, okay. So, and my husband, I'll take that.
You're young. You're so young. You're a baby.
I love you. But, everybody, it's that not in my backyard, NIMBY, right? Yeah. So how do we get people to move beyond NIMBY and think of the future, our children and our grandchildren?
So here's the solution. You can't move them. That's where they think, that's where they're going to fight it. The solution is council and province make decisions and implement them. Because you can resist, but you have to have, your resistance has to be solid and legal, and not because if the zoning allows to build it, you cannot just resist because you don't want it in your backyard. You have to have concrete reasons to resist. So it's time to make tough decisions, and I don't think it's a tough decision. I think it's only positive when you have more residents around you. I think it brings the value even better. It brings more retail to your area. It brings. I think it's better than having a vacant land that, who can park there. We won't mention that, but other people can park there. So that is a solution that politicians on the local level have to make those decisions. And I think that you can't avoid those. Avoiding them or postponing them just create a bigger problem. It doesn't solve anything.
And I'm gonna take a wild step here. We're going to totally switch here for a moment. In commercial real estate, is now a good time for a young person to go into commercial real estate?
It's always a good time.
It's always a good time.
And as I alluded earlier, there's always a buyer, always a seller, always a lessee, always a lessor. There's always activity. The worst time for us is when it's a flat market. Market going up or market going down, people need us. I'm talking on the brokerage side. But commercial real estate is not just the brokerage side. You can be property management. You can be an analyst for a real estate company. There are so many, you can do development, so many facets of commercial real estate that people can deal with. But yeah, we're hiring now young people to join our company. And I got 4 resumes in the last week. And we're trying to get some people to join us because I think there's room for us to grow.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you here at the club. You're a newer member, correct?
Yes.
And I heard that you had a lot of people saying, David, you have to come over. You have to come over. So what are you looking forward to? What is the advantage that you're looking forward to from gaining from the club?
Well, it's an interesting question because for years I was sitting on the sideline. I have a lot of friends that are members here, a lot of friends that are members in the Ranchman, and both were just trying to get me to join one of those clubs. I'm looking for relationship. If I can testify about myself, I'm a people person. And, we're involved in charity, we're involved in business, we're involved in, as you mentioned, our radio talk show is all about Calgary businesses. We started it during COVID because the news was so bad. So Tara McCool, my co-host, and I decided to have a show that is only positive, only on local businesses, Calgary Next on QR 107 and 770. And we're now almost 3 years. And we have a list of people who want to be on the show. So I'm looking for the same relationship here. I'm looking to make some make some impact. I don't know. Maybe it's my problem or my wife's problem that I like to get involved in so many things that she always jokes. You have another 10 minutes available this week. Can you find something to do?
Well, you know what? We are it is such a pleasure and it's such an honor to have a family like yours here in Calgary because it's great families that make a great city. And I look forward to bumping into you here around the club. Maybe see you at the members mixer. Maybe bring your wife out.
I will. She has now. She's an artist, and that's why I have. You see the colors. I don't make. I can't make decisions what to wear. On what colors to choose. So she has now an exhibit. So at the Ambrose University. So I'll see if she can come to the mixer.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah. That would be amazing. David, thank you so much for your time
Thank you for
today.
having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, CALPETECLUB.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.